Hello everybody, and welcome back to another programming C++ video. Now in today's video, we're going to be going over arrays. And now we're going to be going over just one way that we can use arrays and just manipulate the data inside of these arrays. Now you may be wondering why you would want to use an array as opposed to, like, let's say a variable. Now arrays, the reason that you would actually use one instead of like a variable is that sometimes it actually is better to simply use a variable. But a lot of times it's very beneficial to use arrays instead, because arrays can be expanded as you are doing it, as you are making as you are bringing in data. For a, let's say that you wanted to find the average of 5 variables, or just find the value of 5 students. Okay, you want to find the average of 5 students. Now, in order to find the average of all of their grades collectively, then you would have to make 5 variables. Now, that doesn't seem like too much, but it does start getting pretty tedious once you start getting to like 20 students. Now for an array, that won't be nearly as much as a problem if you're using the arrays. Now if you were using 20 variables, it would start to get very difficult in order to actually code that, and also if you're using variables, it's a lot harder to expand. It's a lot harder to it's a lot harder for the program to adapt as the user uses it. Now, the solution to that is arrays, because for an array, you could actually just increase the size while you're doing it. And it's a lot easier, and it's a lot, and you can use a lot less code, and you could do as much done with a lot less code. Because for variables, you don't have to write each and every single individual line of code. With arrays, you can actually smack them inside of for loops, or while loops, or even do while loops, and you can produce meaningful results. Now, those results can be good. Those results can be the expected results, but if you are not able to handle them correctly, then they could not be very good at all, and you could just get the wrong results. You're just going to get the wrong results, and sometimes in that case, it will be better to use variables. Now, we're going to get to doing some code with arrays. Now, manipulating arrays is a bit difficult because it doesn't come easy to a couple of people. For example, I can't just do something like CIN. Okay, let me just first go over the basics, and then I'll get to this. So first of all, the way that you declare an array is sort of like a variable. If I want to create an array, now arrays have to be all of the same type. Okay, you cannot have arrays where there are different data types. Like, you can't have an int or a string in one part or an integer in another. Now, after writing int right here, you need to then come and then write in, let's say, we'll just write array. Very creative, I know. We're just going to write in array, or let's say grades, okay? Grades. And now, to end it, you have to write these straight brackets. These should be right next to the P on your keyboard. And make sure you don't shift click, because they're on the same button as the curly brackets. You don't want curly brackets, you just want normal braces. Okay, these are usually called braces, and these are usually called brackets. And these are called parentheses, of course. Now that you're done with that, now right here, inside of these braces, you can actually, if you want, you can actually specify the size that you want your grades to be. Or you can specify the size that you want the array to be. Now, usually, some people don't actually specify anything in there because it's not actually necessary. Because the program won't actually do anything if you go over that number. It won't actually tell you that it went over, let's say 5. Let's say instead our program takes in 6, and it takes out in 6 data. It takes in 6 integers and it puts them inside of this array. We won't actually be notified, though maybe your IDE will notify you, but usually it won't. So there's really sort of no point in actually specifying a type, because that just may be a bit more confusing to the other people that you are sharing your project with. So I'm just gonna say that sometimes you really don't need to actually put anything right there. Now once you're done with that, once you're done declaring it, I'm just gonna show you how you can do a couple of how you can manipulate what's inside of there. Now first up, the way that you actually put values inside of here, I'm actually just going to put 5 in there because we're only going to have 5 data values. Now the way that we actually do this is we have, let's say that we want to put in something in the first index, right? Now the first index is actually sort of like in strings, like how in want, W is the 0th index, 1 is the second. The first index, N is the second index, and T is the third index. So, yeah, it pretty much just starts off with 0, 1, 2, 3. And once you understand that, which I'm pretty sure most of you will, we can get back to the program. Now, let's say I wanted to, so right here I can write in grades, and now I need to write in this. Now you sort of treat it just like a variable, except you need to write in the index. So let's say I need to write in 0. I'm going to write in 0 is equal to 2, I guess. Now I'd also like for you to keep in mind that even though that the data actually starts at 0, some people will just skip that right there. They will just skip 0. They'll skip the index of 0, and they will just go straight to 1, which is something that a good amount of people do. But I personally will just start at 0 for simplicity. Anyways, this is how you declare something. This is how you declare as a value in an array. Now, in order to print something or see out something, you can't just see out. You can't just see out. You have to see out grades. But you can't just see out grades. You can't just put that and just put the brackets and then close it off and then run it, and we're gonna get an error right there. We can't do that. We have to actually specify what we want in there. Now, also, something that is neat is that when we declare anything when we declare any sort of little index inside of an array, no matter what value we give, unless it's like a string and the program fails to run, unless it's not the correct data type or something just fails to run, everything else inside of that array will be declared to 0. So that's a pretty nice thing to know. Now, I don't know if any of you guys will actually benefit from that, but who knows? We'll see. I'm just saying that if you just declare anything of type 0 inside of your array, then everything else will be declared as 0 as well. So that's pretty neat, honestly. So once we do that, we can then see out, and we have 2. Cool. Now, after we have couted that, I'm going to go over a couple of stuff. Now, I'm not going to be able to go over everything about arrays in this video, so I'm going to divide it up into a couple of videos. But really quickly, I'm going to show you how you can, CIN and cout values. So let's say I have 5. Now what I can do is I can cout, and I can say enter 5 values. Actually, I'm actually just gonna take out that because that might make it a little bit complicated. The reason I'm removing this is because it might make it a little bit more complicated, because technically there's not actually 5 values. It's actually because there is actually going to be 5 values, but depending on your IDE, what's in here might actually be the amount of values that you're storing, or it could actually be the max index. Now I'm just going to remove it for simplicity's sake right now. Anyways, after I write in this, then I'm just going to do that. CIN. And now you actually can't write it like this. You can't write CIN, let's say, grades. No, you can't. You cannot do that, because this will not give you, this will actually generate an error. You cannot do that. In order to take in values, you're actually going to have to use a for loop. So now we're going to make a for loop to CIN. So right here we're going to write in for, and we're going to write in index is equal to 0. Now we're going to have to really quickly declare that to the type int. For index is equal to 0. Index is less than 5. And for each repetition of this for loop, then we will add 1 to index. And then we can write in CIN your list. You can write in grades. Index. And now, after we're done with that, we can see, and then we're just gonna write in int average is equal to grades actually wait, hold on. I'm just gonna hold off on this one for now. First, I'm gonna explain to you what's going on here. So basically what this does is it pretty much just goes over each and every single little part of this array by using a variable. Now this variable is called index, and first it starts at 0. And now every time this runs, then we will take in a value, and that will be one grade. And then it deposits that into the corresponding array part. You'll just put it inside the corresponding array index. And this keeps on going until index is less than 5. Now, we're going to go over on how we can actually display this value. Now, average is obviously going to be equal to grades divided by 5. This right here is a big no. You cannot do this at all. Okay? Instead, you're also going to have to use a for loop in order for you to make a result, to get the average. So first we're going to have to write in sum. Now, what we're going to have to do is we're going to write a for loop, which will more or less just follow this exact same pattern, except we are going to have to add in a little bit different lines of code. First up, each time that this runs, we're actually going to have to put in brackets, because this may be a little bit more complicated than this one line right here. So, first up, what we're going to have to do is... Okay, so before even starting off on anything, I just need to make sure that sum is right here, and now we have to declare sum with an initial value of 0, because we're gonna be doing some adding inside of this for loop. Okay, so actually let's remove this. I don't think we're gonna be needing it. So now what we can do here is first of all, for each repetition of this, or each index, we are going to add that to a variable called sum, which we already declared up here. Now, after we declared that variable, then we can come down here and use that. And we're going to write in sum is equal to sum plus grades index. Now you can see that a lot of these for loops are pretty much just based on each other. Now, you're going to be using a lot of for loops that look a lot like this, maybe even while loops if you need to do a little bit of tweaking, but you're going to have a lot of for loops that look a lot like this when you're working with arrays. So a lot of it's just really simple copy and paste, because you're going to have to be using stuff like this a lot. And it's not very difficult either, because we can use the same algorithm that we used for taking in the values. We can use that for the one that actually calculates the values. Now, Then after that, we can just write in average is equal to sum divided by 5, and then come down, and then we can actually see out average. Now we can just write in, in this case right here, we actually get an error because the storage size is not known. Some IDEs like code blocks, you will actually need to specify the storage size. So I'm just going to write in 5. Now we can run. Enter 5 values. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3. The average is 3. That's pretty nice if you ask me. I think you can see that the for loops actually work. We input 5 values, and when we output it, we get the corresponding answer. The answer that we want. Now that was just a short intro to arrays. There's a multitude of things that you can actually do with arrays. And I'm not going to be able to go over every single one of them in this video. So I'm going to go over a couple of them in my next videos, but I just need you guys to look and see, and you can see all of this. And I would just recommend actually working on arrays on your own for a little while, because just a little bit of experience can go a long way, guys. Now I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!